Tell me what you think. Devil's advocate. So when Steve Kerr came on Willard and Dibbs and said, you know what, if all 6 are bought in, what if I'm a hater? No, what if I'm just a naysayer and saying, if you don't know if they're bought in now, then you got major problems. Would that be fair to you two? The fact that the coach a month before tip, we still got to, all guys got to be bought in. That's telling me you don't know if they're all bought in yet.
That's not the way I read it. The way I read it, and I'm serious about this, and it seems to me, I saw a quote from Draymond Green about everybody buying in, and that's kind of what I'm saying. And I'm if Warrior fans, 888-957-9570, tell me if you agree with me or disagree with me on this premise. Yes, Kerr's talking about buy-in. We played this Curry sound. He was specifically asked about Wiggins. He said everybody needs to get on the same page. Draymond Green said the most important thing this season is everybody's got to have buy-in. To me, they are making a point of acknowledging it was everybody last year. So
everybody's not gone, though, Steiny. So you're right. Remember I hit you with Jordan Poole's in Washington. Oh, everything's gone. If you're right and Dre saying it was, and you're saying it was everybody, then it's still here. It's multiple.
Klay Thompson was a problem last year at times. Andrew Wiggins was here, gone, then back, but he was never the same. Draymond Green started it all with the punch of Jordan Poole. Jonathan Kuminga apparently was more worried about his playing time than coming off the bench and helping the Warriors. I mean, Kuminga was somebody that essentially was called out by Steve Kerr when he was talking about the Miami Heat.
I remember.
What I'm getting at is they are making it clear that everybody had responsibility last year for that cluster. Wasn't just Draymond, wasn't just Poole. Like Klay played in. And you know what? I bet you if we got Steph Curry in a private, honest moment, and we kind of said, I do believe what got the Warriors last year was, Poole obviously was an issue. Then Draymond punched him. Kuminga wasn't happy. Klay didn't know what he was returning to, what he wanted to be. Wiggins wasn't here, which killed continuity. Peyton got here in the middle after not being, it's just everything didn't. Bob Myers was in limbo. So to me, I felt like everybody had something at stake. And it feels to me like this year they are making a concerted effort, Curry, to say, Klay, I'm not worried about my contract. I'm coming right in and playing. Draymond, I got my contract. I'm going to be here. We need to have total buy-in. Wiggins, we need you here all year. I think that's and that's why Chris Paul's a huge part of this, because he's got to be bought in. So does Kuminga. Kuminga's got to be bought in.
But when does it? Okay, everything you were preaching. But when does it get back to basketball? Because if you're telling me
that is basketball,
wow. So then it wasn't about that. Well, you're saying a combo with the age and all that stuff, and Klay not having nothing at the end. Like all that stuff is good, but you still got to go out and execute. And with all that, everything you mentioned, they got to no parade for getting to the conference semis. But damn.
Yeah, they almost lost in the first round.
Well, you are right there. And Curry went Machiavelli, Tupac, and gave that Game 7 speech, and I think that hasn't stopped.
Well, maybe that's...
I think that version of Curry has grown. That's what that soundbite is that you talked about, where Curry was asked about Wiggins, but went in and brought up everybody. Everybody.
We'll see if Steph keeps it up. But you know what? And that's what I was going to say. Maybe if you get Steph in a private moment and you talk about, boy, Poole wasn't really engaged, Draymond started it all, Kuminga didn't care, I bet you Steph would say, you know what? I need to do a better job too. He would, because that's who he is. He'd say something like, I need to be a better leader. I've been here longer than everybody else, and I can do a better job, or I should have done a better job of keeping this team together. That's the kind of thing he would say.
Yeah, and I think that's what he's doing, taking initiative.
What about this? 650. Klay was a problem last year, but we shouldn't let him play in a contract year.
Well, it looks like it's headed down that road.
I don't know.
And what was the problem? He had full throttle when Curry went out, and he had his 2 great months. He was just letting them fly, and he was hitting them. But when they had that team meeting, there's no doubt, I believe, Steiny, Dre or somebody were like, hey, Klay, Not slow it. Yeah, slow it down or take some better shots.
Let me ask you guys this, and Evan too. Do you think Klay Thompson will get an extension before the start of this regular season?
Up until yesterday, I thought he was. Now I don't.
I have not thought he would for a while.
Damn.
Or Kerr.
Oh, Evan.
Man, he threw Kerr in there too. Which
what Evan really did was, this is what I said, and I said it first.
There was some.
I was doing my Steiny impression.
Now, since I like to be precise, does that mean you don't think he'll get a contract extension during the year?
No.
Okay. Interesting. Because he can get extended at any point this year.
I think,
even in the middle of the season.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen at some juncture in the season.
It might.
But Klay is the one that
they might have to reward him with a new contract if he stinks.
I just don't get. I understand.
What don't you get?
Why this Warrior vessel led by the veterans, the re-signing of Draymond Green, the trades of the youngsters. The reflection of Steve Kerr on the Draymond Green podcast, where he basically said, I'm going to do a better job. Joe Lacob. I don't know how Joe, I know he's going to join the Morning Roast on Wednesday. I can't wait next week. But in studio, Steiny, Joe Lacob, it was puzzling to me that I felt like he was not intertwined with his GM. If you saw the body language and everything that was said, it wasn't precision, and that shocked me. Okay, so Bob went on, and he's gone. So now, had that not happened, I'd be like, oh, hell yeah, Steiny, Steve Kerr's going to get done. But if this vessel, this ship is headed in the right direction, you want nothing more than for your head coach who's broke bread with you. You guys have celebrated. This should be easy street to me, and the fact that it's at a that concerns me, and that tells me, and shocker, I don't know everything that's going on behind the scenes. But with that said, that tells me, Steiny, and I'll say, Goo, something's going on. And it don't have to be bad, but something's up. Because Steve Kerr is a Don here. He should not be entering this year with it up in the air. I said what I said.
What if Steve Kerr is asking for, and I get it, coaches aren't part of the salary cap.
Go ahead.
But Steve Kerr, I think, is very within his rights to say, I'll tell you what, Joe, give me a 4-year extension, maybe even rip up this year, 4 more years for $60 million, $15 million a year. It's exorbitant money for a coach, but it's more than Monty Williams. You know what? If Steve Kerr would be asking for 4 years, $60 million, I might say, let's play this out for a little bit.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I might.
And this is before you even I asked you to elaborate.
We're Warrior fans on that.
My question is, I know everybody's different. You, Evan, and I are different individuals, different personalities. Why would San Antonio let Pop do what he's doing and them losing but growing? Why would he be able to basically re-up and it be okay? And Kerr, there have to be what you feel like 15?
They're different organizations. And Popovich is higher in his organization than Kerr is in the Warriors organization. But what are you asking? Why don't they just make him Popovich? Kerr?
Because I think he is.
Well, they don't want him to be. I don't think.
He's kind of already been Popovich. Not both, but he's been the GM
He's
before.
done it all.
Probably doesn't want to.
But, Evan, I'm just Steiny, guys, I'm saying he's been so successful. I'm not saying a pass, but the blank check should be, if you want to do this, let's go.
Well, I wouldn't. I'm just telling you, if I were the owner, I'm not giving Steve Kerr a blank check. Of course, I'm not giving anybody a blank check. But if Steve Kerr's asking for a four years
60.
and 60, I'm not. I might say.
And what would be just all money, or what?
No.
Has something popped off where you're looking like, hey, I'm the young guy? I mean,
thank you.
The next 2 or 3 years, it looks like the big three are going to be here. So couldn't you do 3 for 45?
No, he doesn't want to do 3. If I'm Steve Kerr, I'm not doing 3. I'm doing whatever the hell I want. But what I'm getting at, Goo, is let's say he says 4 for 6. Like, this is where fans are different than the owner. The owner, Joe Lacob, has to. He has to. Or I should say, has to, doesn't he? He has to plan for something going wrong. Doesn't he? Or no?
Well,
or
when he
just
signed Dre
business?
for 400 at his age, I would think they did that knowing something physically could go wrong.
Okay, fair. No, I agree. So if something physically goes wrong with Draymond Green,
like it did with Klay.
The Warriors, they're pretty much no longer the Warriors at that point, right?
Wow. All right.
Okay. Well, then do you want Steve Kerr to be the coach for 4 years when you've got it, like...
But if he wants to, how do I tell him no?
Who?
Steve.
You say, Steve, we're in transition. We may be in transition. Do you realize people are, oh, no way. We don't know. Anything could happen. 2 years from now, Steph Curry, this team could possibly not be a great team. And Steph Curry goes to Lacob and says, you know what? Go ahead and trade me and get some young pieces in here and send me to a contender the last 2 or 3 years. Like, so that's on the table if the Warriors steadily decline. And people say, well, they're not going to steadily decline. Well, maybe. Like,
I got two
they
things.
They might
that.
not, but I've got to allow for that. Isn't that what a boss does?
Okay.
Like, looks at all the scenarios.
Right, but I would also hope that same boss would look at all the good I've done, and if I'm not asking for scholarships, all the good I've done, the relationship we have, and if you're just going to look at everything from this point on me getting this new contract, is if everything goes wrong, what would it then be? I just feel like in my world, Steiny, if I were Joe Lacob, not I owe Steve Kerr that, but it's good for business that I reward this man, some for what he's done, and I got all the confidence of what he can do. Like, I think it's bad for the Warrior brand for Steve Kerr to enter this season without a re-up.
Okay, so let me present a hypothetical candidate that's out there, either an assistant coach or a guy who's been a head coach who is known as a great teacher. A great teacher.
All right.
This is the guy you want to develop young players, okay? Well, if this year goes south and you've got to transition off of a guy or two and get young players in here, I think it's fair to say, let's get a different kind of coach in here. I get it. It's probably not going. I'm just saying, am I... Like, if I'm the Golden State...
So you can't be too far off basis.
What's that?
Yep, too far off base. He's not got a deal. So when you talk like that, I think I'm not in denial. I'm hanging on. They're not going to fall off or have that basketball tragedy like you're saying. Because when you talk...
You guys can play at a high level for 4 years.
Could Steiny be right?